Dude, good to be here with you, man.
Man, this is gonna be fun. I'm really excited.
Well, George, I met you this summer, and the thing I loved about you, man, a lot of times, professional athletes or people that are a little bit more like hesitant to really engage with, people. But as soon as we met, it seemed like you were just like the fun guy in the room, just there to have a good time.
Yeah, no, that's me. I'm 100% me all the time, and I never want to change that. And I kind of want people to realize that. I think the biggest thing for me is I hate going into a room and having someone trying to be something they're not. So every time that I'm out in public or even with my friends, I'm the same person 100% of the time.
Dude, I like that, man. Is it hard in Utah? I mean, it's a small town city a little bit, compared to other NBA cities. You guys are obviously get recognized a lot. You're tall.
Right.
Utah's not the most diverse place in the country. Is it hard when people are always coming up and sometimes you're just out to eat or just doing your thing?
You know what? That's funny you say that because I just think Utah is so unique. But from my aspect, I think that's like so cool. So if I'm having someone come up to me that asking me, "Oh, are you a basketball player?" I think that's cool because they're either a skier or they're doing different things out here, or the tech business is moving this way. So I've met a lot of cool people just by being out and about in Utah. And obviously, I mean, you play this game to be appreciated. Obviously, one for yourself and to be appreciated by other people. And so when fans come up, I mean, I think our guys do a great job of taking the time to show love to those people because it all means something to us. At the end of the day, when you're working, you're doing it for yourself, but doing it for those moments where you get to stand in Vivint and have thousands of people, screaming.
And you probably remember as a kid, like you probably had guys because you grew up in Boston or in Massachusetts, I guess. And were you a Celtics fan growing up?
I was a Celtics fan, and so the biggest turning point for me is when so I was I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. My youth basketball coach took us to see a Timberwolves game, and I remember going down and trying to get autographs before the game, and I'm yelling like Wally Zerbiak. I'm like, Wally, can I get your autograph? And he like looks me off, and I'm like, Wally, like right here, and he's like, man, get out of here, get out of here. So I've seen him to this day. I think he does stuff with the Knicks, but it just showed me like, man, sometimes, and no disrespect to him.
Yeah, sure.
I mean?
No, he was doing the same.
Yeah, sometimes you don't realize who's in the arena or who's watching you, and that could make or break, someone's not life.
Yeah, but that's cool that you had that moment where you can now appreciate like these kids are coming to watch me play, and you can be a little more cognizant of that. And I know what it's like, when you're a kid and you're excited. So were you also a Boston like Patriots, Red Sox, the whole gambit?
Yeah, the as we say in New England, the Red Sox, the Pats, C's. I loved all of them, even the Bruins. I think when you just grow up in a city like Boston, you have that strong love for the hometown team, and anybody that likes any other team, you're just not fond of them.
Dude, Boston fans are crazy. I remember in 2004, when they broke the curse, the Red Sox. So I actually went to, me and my buddies were watching Game 6, the bloody sock. You remember
Kurt Schilling? Come on, man.
Dude, and we were at my house, and I got on the internet after the game. It was Game 7 was the next day. And I started Googling, and there was like this deal with JetBlue, like $200 round trip to Boston. I looked at my roommate, I go, dude, I'm going to end up in Boston tomorrow if I don't get off the internet. And me and my buddy flew out at like 5 a.m, and I went to that game. But we actually bought tickets from a scalper. They were fake tickets. And I was devastated. I thought I was like, and I only had a couple $100 left. And some random dude, I swear it was like an angel or something, dude. He comes in and he was like, I think he stole him actually because he was like all jittery and nervous. And he's like, $100, give them to me. And they were real, and we got in and watched that game.
Oh, so, man.
That's my Boston fandom.
It's funny about the Red Sox because the year before when Grady Little didn't pull Pedro Martinez, I just remember watching in my bed. I don't remember how old I was, but I just remember I fell asleep and waking up the next morning asking my mom, did they win? And then just watching Aaron Boone's home run just sail.
Off Tibbin Wakefield, dude. I remember that.
It hurt.
I bet. Well, dude, I'm a Cleveland Indians fan, so I know the pain. The Red Sox have did us dirty a few times, but that's fun, dude. So what, as a kid, what do you most remember as far as like growing up in Boston, being a fan of sports. Did you play all the sports, or did you kind of gravitate to basketball because of your size?
No, see, so I kind of like did it all. So I met some of my closest friends when we played like youth soccer together. So
Okay.
that was fun. I knew my soccer career was trending backwards as the field got bigger. I went from attack to defense. And then when it was at the biggest field, they were like, hey, do you want to play goalie? And I was like, oh, I see what you're doing here. So yeah, I played soccer. I played ice hockey, but that kind of conflicted with basketball. I played football, so I kind of wrestled.
There's not many 6'8" hockey players hanging around.
I probably missed my calling there. I don't know. The whole skating and handling a puck at the same time was too much for my hand-eye coordination. So I kind of did it all, and then obviously middle school came around, and I really just fell in love with basketball.
So I mean, you were highly recruited even in high school. How'd you end up at Iowa State, dude? Ames, Iowa, like from Boston.
I think the biggest thing for me is I'm a loyal guy, and I really feel connected to people that have the same views and are as loyal as I am. And Fred Hoiberg was the head coach at Iowa State then, and a lot of high major coaches, promise you things. And to be honest, I wasn't even getting recruited by high major guys at this point. But when Fred Hoiberg, he was the first high major college coach to recruit me. So I really felt a loyalty to him, that he was one of the first guys to hop on the bandwagon. And after that being said, I went out and met with him, took a visit there, and he really didn't promise me anything. He said, if you're going to come in here, you're going to earn everything that you get. And that's what I liked, you know what I mean? I'd rather be told straight up than giving me a whole bunch of lines or BS. So I committed to him, and that was probably one of the best decisions of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened enough of your story and your podcast with other things you've done that you seem to have a real love for Iowa State and your time there. Did you any of the other recruiting visits? Were most of the coaches that way, or did you have any funny experiences where they tried to do something that you were just like, oh man, or were you kind of pretty committed to Iowa State by that point?
I took a couple visits, but I remember taking a visit to Boston College, and Steve Donahue was the coach there, and so after the game, he brought me. They played like Bucknell, right? They beat them. It was over Christmas break, and so we're in a meeting. All the coaches are in there. So you think he'd talk to me about me, and we get in there, and he's just rattling off all these other recruits that how do I feel about them? He's
trying to make you the jealous girlfriend.
Yeah, and I was just like, and to be honest with you, if he offered me a scholarship, I might have just committed to Boston College, because that's like the love that you have. Like growing up, you watched.
Yeah, it's your hometown.
BC teams take it as far as they could, and then when you sit there, you're like, dang, this guy's more concerned about X, Y, and Z than he is me. So I have a saying that everything happens for a reason. It's not my saying, but I'm gonna steal it for now. And so obviously I'm a firm believer in that, and there's a reason why I ended up in the Midwest or at Iowa State, because my experiences there, I mean, you could never put a price tag on that.
So, I mean, when I think of Iowa State, I've been to Ames once. I drove through. Like, dude, what the hell did you do to entertain yourself out there?
Yeah.
People probably say that now about Utah, right? They're like, what are you doing in Utah?
Yeah.
So what did you do out in Iowa State? Like, what's the atmosphere, the college town? What was your experience as a student athlete?
So I think the biggest thing for me is, when I talk to people about college and they're like, oh, I want to be in a city and this, that, and the other, I feel like a city school, you kind of like miss out on like the whole college experience. Like, don't you want to have like a campus stuff where people your age are hanging out? You're not getting lost in the shuffle. So that was huge for me, and I was really thankful that I went to a school that was considered a college town. I mean, obviously, when all the students are there, it's like population 50,000, and then when you're there for summer school, it's like
4,000.
Yeah, 20,000 or something. So there was a lot to do, considering the fact that we worked pretty hard on the court. But I mean, off the court, we were going golfing, and we were going off road and ATVing, and in Iowa. That was the first time I actually, went out to someone's house and got to shoot like a registered gun.
Oh, that's
cool. I was nervous to say it on there. No, I'm kidding. But it's just like experiences that you'd never get to have if I was stuck in Boston or in Massachusetts. Like, I'm so open to trying new things, and I've never been a materialistic guy. I've more been a guy that would rather spend my money on vacations and memories, and so just to do that stuff and relive it back in my mind is I wouldn't want it any other way.
Well, give people an idea, like being a major, college university. You guys were ranked, I think, every year you were at Iowa State. I mean, you guys were always ranked at that time. And how difficult is it to balance the life between being a student and being an athlete?
Credit to Iowa State, we got a lot of help. We had great academic advisors, a coach that really cared about us, not only as players and humans. So obviously you want to go to a place that has the right fit, but the toughest thing is that people don't understand, and I'll get into this topic before you bring it up, is the athletes getting paid. So when you're a college student, you can pick your classes, say from 2 in the afternoon to 6 at night. As a college athlete, like if you have weights in the morning, I mean, you really have to base your schedule around what's going on, or practice in the afternoon. So we're trying to squeeze our schedule in a small amount of time and then have practice for 3-4 hours. And we may have already had to lift at 6 in the morning and then come home and do homework and study for tests. Well, if you're a regular student, obviously that's your choice, what I mean? You can sleep in every day, have a class at 11, 12 o'clock. And when that's done, you can either go hang out with a girlfriend, go hang out with your friends, do homework all together. For student athletes, I mean, you expect me to go to school, which is understandable, right? That's what you're there for, and also along with athletics, and then not be exhausted or drained from working out or putting my all into my craft. And another thing that people don't realize is we travel too.
So you're on the road a lot too. That's the other
so
part.
Say I have a game Tuesday night and I have a test on Wednesday morning. Like we fly back from Baylor, which is like a 2-hour flight from Iowa, from Ames, Iowa. Obviously we charter. Life is good. You know what I'm saying? We're treated greatly, but when you get back at 2-3 in the morning and the person next to you and your test the next day has got 10 hours of sleep, you're like, man, this is tough. I mean, but obviously you have to have your priorities straight. And I think that's where some student athletes go wrong, is that you go to a college and you're glorified. Like, oh, we love you, you're this, you're that. Well, that's for 4 years. Like, so I kind of put the blame on some athletes where you're not taking advantage of everything that you were given. Like, they think this isn't going to come and go. 4 years goes by fast. So if you're not making relationships, taking your classes seriously, gaining something out of it. So many people waste their time with just being there and not being present and trying to accomplish anything. I think goal setting is huge, but with young people, that's tough because they only see what's going on right now. So
no, that makes a lot of sense. Well, as far as your playing days there, I mean, you guys had a couple pretty good runs to the Sweet 16. I do want to talk about your junior year was kind of your best team, I think. You guys were ranked top 10 most of the year. Went into the NCAA tournament as a 3 seed. You just beat Kansas to win the Big 12 championship. Am I correct?
Yeah.
The Big 12 championship tournament.
Yes. Yep. We did. And going off that was a whirlwind of emotions. We had transfers come in and a super talented team. I think from that team, we've had like 4 NBA guys on that
Naz
team.
That plays for the Jazz.
Me,
was on that
Naz,
team with
Monte Morris, who plays for the Denver Nuggets, Bryce DeJean-Jones, who actually passed away a couple years ago. He played for the Pelicans. Okay. Abdul Nader and Deontay Burton. So 6. We had 6 NBA guys. So I'm kind of pained to say that we got.
Dude, I literally had you guys going to my Final Four. You killed my bracket that year, man.
I owe you one.
We'll call it even for
Yeah. So we had a super talented team, and it's kind of the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I just think.
Well, for the audience that doesn't know, you guys were a 3 seed, went up against UAB.
Yeah, who was
actually
14.
a pretty dang athletic 14 seed. They played very, very good game.
Yeah, I think they underachieved during the regular season, won their conference tournament, and they were really talented. They had some guys that could really play. Had a great coach. I think he's coaching at Stanford right now.
Okay.
So he was great, and I think it was just us getting on our high horse. That was our. Did
you guys go in a little bit arrogant into?
Yeah, we had just won our second Big 12 tournament championship in a row, and this was kind of a setup. The NCAA tournament is so we won on a Sunday. The NCAA or Saturday, NCAA announces the tournament on Sunday, and then we have the first game on Thursday.
Yeah,
in
the opening
Louisville.
game.
Yeah, it was like 11 a.m. So it's like you kind of got to bring your own energy and, you know, get things rolling. And then, you know, when you keep a team that you're better than around long enough, they're going to get confidence. And when that happens, it's a brawl, you know. So it was a dogfight, and we lost.
So one of the things that, you know, I highlight people on this podcast that are exceptional people and just doing awesome things. Obviously, you know, your career is bigger than a game that was in college. You've gone on, you're now in your third NBA season. But like in that moment, like how down are you as a player? That's a devastating loss, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I couldn't describe my emotions then, but just know that like how passionate like your fans are. One, that you let them down. Two, there are already speculations that your coach was leaving for the NBA. Mm-hmm. So then you're thinking like, damn, did I just play like the last game with this guy as my head coach? And you just run through a whirlwind of emotions, and then you're just thinking like, what if I did this? What if I did that? And it just goes to show you that, you know, life is pretty much all about preparation. You know, how prepared you are to do anything in life is probably going to determine how successful you are. So, you know, that taught me a lot going into my senior year, and really made me sacrifice a lot of things off the court that college students usually partake in. And really just to give it my all my senior year, and we got a new coach. And
was that hard to have a new coach come in? Because you had said that one of the, you know, probably the main reason you went to Iowa State was for Coach Hoiberg, and he was a great coach. And
yeah, you know, it's funny. I've never really talked about this like publicly, but so when you get like a new coach, it's kind of like the stepfather. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, like the stepfather where like you're 15 years old and someone new tries to come in your life. You're like, whoa.
That's
like
not
I know
how we do it in this family.
Yeah, exactly. I know what I want. We know what we want. Like just stay away from me. And it kind of really threw me for a whirlwind because I was so big on just like kind of doing things my own way. It was my senior year. It's how I wanted to go out. And I really didn't break through and really like embrace Steve Prohm, who was the coach, great coach. Taught me a lot about defense. That's going to help me in the long run for sure. Until it was like halfway through the year. I think we had a game at Cincinnati, and we had just lost to like a in-state rival, University of Northern Iowa. And we finally got onto another game and played Cincinnati at Cincinnati. And the way he had us all come together and attacked us about not doing things the right way, you know, it's kind of like, all right, you know, let your nuts hang a little bit, you know? And I was proud of him for how he did it and how he addressed us, and I was proud to be a player for him at that moment. But obviously when you have a new coach, it's tough. You know, you really don't want to listen to someone you didn't come there to play with.
Yeah, sure. I can only imagine because you are so ingrained into that culture that the coach set up, right? And that's one of the reasons you want to be there. And then to have it all shifted your senior year. And you were All-American your senior year.
Yeah, junior and senior year. And, you know, Steve Prohm was so great to me and it still is. And he's done so many great things for me. And I couldn't be more thankful for him, you know, coming into my life and helping me out.
Well, speaking of your college career, you actually came to Utah because you guys played BYU. Which year was that?
Yeah, that was my sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you ever been to Utah before that?
No, I had never been to Utah. So that was my first time. And so we had a player on our team, DeAndre Kane. Transfer from Marshall. He was probably like 24 years old.
He was like a pretty mean player, right?
Yeah, he's pretty aggressive. Great guy to have on your team. Hate playing against
for sure,
him, right? So obviously, coming from Iowa, you hear stories about Utah and like, oh, the Mormons, watch out for them, this, that, and the other. So obviously, we had, you know, some way of thinking, especially when we found out that you couldn't even have caffeine in the whole county.
They've switched that now.
They did?
Yeah, you can have caffeine now. But yeah, at the time, that was a big thing.
So we get there, we fly in. It's probably like 4:00, right? So we fly in. Provo has an airport, right? Yeah. So we chartered there, and you know, so our bus pulls up right to the plane. We're getting off, and I'm right behind DeAndre, and DeAndre looks up and he's like, "Damn, look at these big ass mountains." And the bus driver was like, "Hey, don't you talk about our mountains like that?" So immediately in my head, I'm thinking like everything that I've heard from Utah, and I'm like, whoa, this is like twisted. Like she's like not appreciating us, like admiring her mountains because we had a cuss word in there.
Yeah, it's like Pleasantville.
Yeah, exactly. So then I'm like, I get on the bus, and I'm just like, this is crazy. So we have shoot around at the arena. I forget what arena it was called.
The Cougar Stadium.
Yeah, and it's like huge.
Marriott Center, right?
Yeah, the Marriott Center. And it's huge. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, they just pack people in here and get it like crazy. Everybody wears white. It gets so loud, right? So I'm like, this is going to be nuts, right? So anyway, we're pulling up to the arena. We're about to play there. And then I see people camping out for the game. So I'm like, oh, this is a setup. You know what I mean? We got to come out here and play these guys. The year before, we had beat them by 20 at our place. Right. So, like, this is going to be a setup. I think it was, like, Tyler Haas. Yeah, he was a stud for them. He was a senior. And so we're pulling up to the arena, get off. And there's an elevator that we have to take down to get to. And we get caught with, like, the cheerleaders. And I'm like, oh, man, like, someone's going to get distracted. And they're like, hey, welcome to Provo. Like, good luck tonight. We really hope you have a great game. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, like, are they using, like, reverse psychology? Like, in their head, they're thinking, like, yeah, let them relax because we're about to kick their ass. So,
it's all right. You're not with this bus driver anymore. You can say it.
Yeah, exactly. So we finally get the game going, right? And you guys, like, blitz us. It's, like, 22 to, like, 4, right? And we finally get our feet up under us, and we come back, and some play happens where Eric Mika goes up for a shot, and DeAndre Kane, like, to this day, he's never told me it was intentional, but people tell me, like, it had to have been intentional, and he pokes him in the eye, right? So that happens, and immediately your guys' fans start going crazy. You know what I mean?
Turned on you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking, like, what is going on? Like, we just got our guy ejected. Like, these people are hating us. You know, they started off liking us. What is going on? Then Melvin Edgem, he was a power forward on our team. I think he was a senior. He was one of our best players. He gets his 5th foul. So now he's upset. Someone's barking at him from behind our bench. He gives them the middle finger. You know, so that's everywhere. So, like, the showing for Iowa State just wasn't great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember.
BYU welcomes us with all their hospitality. The Cirque du Soleil intro with, like, the curtains coming down from the scoreboard. And so we end up pulling out the game. And I just remember thinking with all the people there, because it's like, so
it's 22,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and we only have 14,000 at Iowa State. So I'm like, this is a lot of people. Like, we need to get out of here, because the way the game just ended, it was just like not in a way they would appreciate it. And so I'm running out of there, just thinking like, oh, there's no way we are making it out of here. And then what do you know? We see some more cheerleaders on our way up to get out of the arena, and they're like, that was an awesome game. We are so happy that you guys gave us great competition. And I was just like, what is going on? You need to get me out of here. You guys are way too pleasant. And then you come to find out, I mean, that's just how people are.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's a hilarious story, awesome. Dude. I love that. It's kind of fun. I think people listening to this are going to enjoy hearing, like, you know, I think the visiting player's perspective of coming to play there. So if you had a similar experience, I mean, you got drafted by the Pacers. And growing up a Boston fan, was Larry Bird the general manager when you got drafted, or was he gone by then?
No, he was the president, so he was the one that drafted me.
Was he your guy when you were younger, or was that a little bit before your time?
That was a little bit before my time. I was more like the Antoine Walker, Paul Pierce days. Okay. Yeah. So, but, you know, my dad had told me stories about Larry Bird, my grandfather. I mean, if you go to Boston, Larry Bird is the Celtic, the ultimate Celtic. And just to be around him and see how he operates on a day-to-day basis, you realize why he was such a good professional. I think he does things his way and ways that work for him, and he has a routine and nobody's skewing him from that. I think as an athlete, once you can find that and not be a dick about it, but, you know, have your things that you do and nobody's going to take you away from that. And if they try, you're like sternly telling them, like, no, this is what I do. Leave me alone. And I think if you can find that as a professional athlete, the more successful you'll be.
And so your career at the Pacers, like, because what happened? You get drafted and it was kind of didn't really work out.
Yeah, I was drafted, played one season there, got injured in summer league, then I was waived, and so after that, I mean, obviously it was tough. Sometimes you think like, damn, did I not prepare myself as much as I could? Is my opportunity in the NBA gone? You know, you have these natural.
It's probably a scary moment because the NBA is such a small roster, right?
Yeah,
There's only
exactly.
2 draft rounds, and
15 spots on the roster, and you're thinking, man, did I mess this up? Like, what could I have done better? Things that you can't control in the past. That's what really brought me to the thing of controlling what you can control. So my agent got me a deal with Golden State to go to training camp with them, and I eventually went down to their G League team and played with their G League team.
did you get to play a little bit with the actual
so
NBA team? So
I
what
did
was
preseason with
that?
them.
What was that team chemistry like playing on that team? Because they seem to have so much fun when they're playing.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was really cool to see, especially because that was only the second team that I saw. Golden State is a real laid-back environment.
Okay.
They really, they're big on guys being well-rested, having confidence, and feeling good, which is great for them. It works for them. Some teams it wouldn't work for, but I think the best part was, so you have those four or five studs for them, right? Draymond Green, Steph Curry,
Durant,
KD,
Thompson,
and Klay Thompson. And the thing about them is, before every practice, KD was on the court at like 9:15, and I was only there for 2 weeks. But at 9:15 and every day, he was walking out of that door, and it just like what I brought about routines is like Steph Curry after practice, right there, 35 minutes getting his shots. Klay Thompson after practice, Draymond Green after practice. Like they all had like their slotted times, and some guys who are on the roster with them would shoot and maybe wouldn't shoot, but these guys every day were attacking their goals and their craft and just trying to become better. And I think it's something that you can admire from afar. Obviously, when we play them, I don't want to admire it, but that they take their craft so seriously and that this means so much to them that every day they're going to do a little bit to get better. I think people get skewed view of that, thinking that, these guys just wake up naturally talented and they can do it. No, I mean, every day these guys are chopping away a little bit to become a little better at something that ends up being something big in their career. And then next they're like, all right, I'm good at this. Let me try this. And I think that's so cool when you can have that and mentally know what you need to get better at and then accomplish it.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson. It's, we think that it's these drastic big things, but it's those little things every single day over time that builds up to become Kevin Durant or whatever.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Well, so then how do you end up here in Utah with the Jazz?
So the NBA had just come up with a 2-way contract. Mm-hmm. So you're allowed to have 45 days up with the NBA team, but you spend most of your time down with the G League. So it was, I think I was in the show. I guess it was like January 7th. We were in Toronto with my Santa Cruz team, the lower team of the Golden State Warriors. So I was still with them. And my agent called me and, rewind this story. So Naz, my college roommate, Naz Mitri Long, he had just signed a 2-way contract with the Utah Jazz. Was there with them for 2 weeks, traveling with them and stuff like that. I was stellar for him, happy for him. He had just hit his first 3 and scored his first NBA points. And I couldn't have been more proud of him or happy for him, especially as someone that I would call one of my best friends. And so my agent comes up to me after the game and is like, hey, what do you think about the Utah Jazz? And I was like, that'd be awesome. I'd love to go play for them. They're like, well, they just offered you a 2-way contract. I was like, oh, sick. Like, let's take it. Then I'm like, wait, so me and Naz are going to be on a 2-way? They're like, no, you're taking his 2-way.
Oh, man.
So my first instinct was like, nah, like, I'm cool. Like, I'll just do this till another opportunity comes up. Because, I didn't feel right doing it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's like he was literally your roommate.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, we were and we're the best of friends. So then they were like, listen, like, he'll understand, you know what I mean? This is an opportunity for you, and he'll understand. And so I ended up coming to Utah, doing that, and somehow some people would call it snaking your best friend. So people would give me some crap about that when I got here, but. No,
it's cool how it's all worked out because now he got his 2-way contract and everything.
No, so it's cool. I think in this league, it's tough to go through it alone. So the fact that I have one of my best friends to do it alongside, I think that's super cool. It's something that you only dream about for sure. Yeah,
it's an opportunity that very few players, I think, get to actually play with one of their best friends. Yeah. And you guys have kind of been through the grinder together. You guys are kind of known as guys that, grind the process, and and you've now earned you signed a 1 year with a 2-year kind of option. Is that correct?
Yes,
that's your
exactly.
current contract.
Yeah.
And so coming to Utah, being here, obviously you had this preconceived notion from your experience at BYU. So how quickly did you figure out that wasn't exactly what Utah was all about?
I think as like soon as like I touched down, I want to say like some obviously when you touch down from the airport, you see people waiting there, congratulating people or waiting for people that have come back from their Mormon mission. So I saw that and I'm like, oh,
you thought they were there for you?
I'm like, oh man, what's going on? What do we got going on here? And then next thing you know, I think someone lost their luggage and they're cussing up a storm, and the guy that lost it is cussing at them back. I'm like, okay, there's a different side of Utah. And no, I just think there's just so many like unique and cool people. And I've said this to someone. I was like, there's people who are affluent in Utah that can make changes in the world, but they're real people, and you can go to LA and have affluent people that can make changes in the world, and they're not real. So I think that's the coolest thing about Utah or I shouldn't say the coolest thing about Utah, or one of the coolest things is that there's people out here that can really make changes in the world, and they're genuine people. And I think that's hard to find anywhere else, but I think that kind of like makes Utah special. And I think, how would you say, Utahns? Yeah, Utah. They should embrace that, because some people that have been here their whole life, some of them are like, oh, I want to get out, da, da, da. And I'm like, listen, it ain't as sweet as it looks out on the other side. This is a good place to have. I mean, I drive on the highway every day to get to work, and I almost crash every time because I'm just looking at the mountains like, this is unreal.
I always like to say that Utah is a great place to live, but leave often.
Yes.
That way you always appreciate it still, right?
Exactly, yeah. Good place to call home, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So have your parents been able to come out, go to some games out here? Obviously you play on the East Coast a lot.
Yeah. So I had my whole family on my mother's side come out here for Christmas. So they were here. My mom was staying in my apartment for 11 days. Love her to death. She wasn't very keen of
put a little bit of block on your social game.
Yeah, if that's what you want to call it, right? No, she just wasn't really keen of me. Not
as good of a wingman as Naz.
Yeah, right. She was fond of me blasting music at any time of the day, letting me know that I have neighbors. I'm like, I know, but who cares about them? No, so that was great to have them come out. My dad and my younger brother and my cousin had come out a month before that. So I think it's cool when you can have can share this journey and this life with your family. I mean, obviously, they pay NBA players pretty handsomely. So, I mean, it's great. But when you're alone, you really, I wouldn't say appreciate it, but you really wish you could share the cool things that you have and get to see with other people. I mean, that's at least how I look at it. I would rather be poor and happy than rich and miserable. I mean, I just think happiness is so key, and I think when me seeing other people happy and sharing the great things that I've been given is when I'm the happiest.
No, and I think that shows too, because I think money and fame makes you more of whatever you are, right? So if you're a miserable person or you're an angry person, I think you become more of that. But where you're a happy person, and it shows, man. It's fun to kind of see you having a good time out there.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm blessed, man. They pay me money to put an orange thing in an orange thing. It's pretty crazy, right?
Well, your brother, he's in junior high, right?
Yeah.
So is that fun for him to, like, his older brother's now playing in the NBA? And
he loves that type of stuff, and sometimes he'll even text me questions like, yo, what is it like to play this person? One of my friends was just asking. I'd be like, oh, yeah, what's up, too? How are you doing? Yeah, good to talk to you.
Who, speaking of which, so for your little brother's sake, we'll dive into that a little bit, but was there a player that you kind of looked up to as a kid, or that you, like, just really wanted to play against that you've now got the opportunity to play?
There's probably a couple, right? Who
was your favorite player growing up?
Tracy McGrady, but he was out of the NBA. Yeah. But always a huge Paul Pierce fan. And
did you cry when he almost broke his leg and had to get stretchered off?
And then came back and won the game? The GOAT. That's greatest of all time.
Anybody not from Boston gets a good laugh out of that.
Yeah,
you understand
exactly.
this, right?
No, you don't know what was going through our minds when that happened. We're like, it's over. It's over. They're like, no, it's not. And he's coming back. They're like, he's not coming back. And then he's coming up, like running back. You're like, what the heck just happened? Yeah.
Correct me. Have you ever seen the movie Celtic Pride? When the Celtics play the Jazz for the championship.
Oh, I haven't seen
You would
that.
have some conflicted friends and family.
Oh, maybe I
Did
should.
You should watch that. They kidnapped the Jazz's best player, and so the Celtics fans, they're crazy out in Boston.
Yeah, that's a smart idea.
Yeah, dude. So they kidnap him during the NBA Finals, but he kind of gets away. But he kind of, instead of sending them to jail, he makes them cheer for the Jazz to win it all. Oh, it's a good one, dude. You should definitely put that on your list.
Up. Yeah. Wow.
So Tracy McGrady was your favorite.
Yeah, and then Paul Pierce. So when I was in Indiana, he was playing his last stint with the Clippers, so that was cool.
Yeah.
To play against him and really see what he's all about. I've always been a huge Kevin Love guy.
Okay.
Just because rebounder, can stretch the floor, skilled. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to him, but no, I think he does a lot of cool things, and he's a great guy. And
you guys have a really good chemistry. One thing that's fun about you guys, there's 7 or 8 of you that are always hanging out together, going out together. It seems like the team really gets along. Who's the funnest guy to hang out with on the team?
The funnest guy to hang out with? It's up there. Royce O'Neal is pretty fun. He knows how to have a good time. Donovan's fun. Jay and Ricky. Jay and Ricky are fun. Joe's always fun, but that's in a workplace. Joe has a family, so he's focused on them, and he's always great when he's around.
Is he as good of a trash talker as people say?
Oh, A+. A+.
Did he start trash talking you when you were new on the team?
Oh man, so this is a funny story. So I don't think he pays attention to like two-way guys or their games or whatever. So especially if you haven't been around. Like I came in mid-season.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm shooting on a hoop, and I think I'd missed like 3 or 4 in a row, and he's like, Lonzo Ball.
You kind of do look like
Lonzo Ball.
So
I'm just like, I didn't even know this dude, and he's just out here chirping me like this. So I just start laughing, and then that was just like the name that stuck with me. I mean, he doesn't call me that anymore, but God, those are some challenging times.
I love that, dude. Yeah. I love it. Well, what do you do? I know the NBA players, you do have a lot of downtime. You like to read, right?
Yeah.
What are a couple of your favorite books? Do you have like a favorite book or a book that you love to?
So what first off, I used to hate reading. Hated it because, when you're a young kid, your parents make you read the books that you have to do for school, and those book reports. And,
Birth of a Nation.
Man, it's more like punishment. But it kind of eases my mind, and I, like you said, with all the free time, like you got to own it. Like this is the time for you to develop yourself. And sometimes the reason why I really started reading is I caught myself like texting one time and not forgetting how to spell words and different things like that. I was like,
it wasn't auto spelling it for you.
Yeah, I was like, gosh, I need to read a book. So that's how I got into it. But I really got into it with John Gordon. The Energy Bus was one of the first books that I started reading, and books like that really just interest me. Having a more positive mindset on things and see how your life could change in that. And I'm reading a book right now called The Power of Moments, and
I've read that. It's good.
Yeah, really good. And it just goes into depth about doing things with passion and purpose, and what's the difference between the two, and how passion is more self-oriented and purpose is more for an end goal that helps everybody. And I think if you can be cognizant of that and have that in your mind and use it in your everyday life, I feel like you benefit from that. You kind of see things like, oh well, if I didn't know this, I would be doing this, and that would affect my life this way. So I definitely love reading, and it's helped me so much.
I actually picked up that book, The Power of Moments. I had some time on a boat in the middle of the ocean last April with a guy named Andy Murch. He's the world's foremost expert of sharks, like photography.
Yeah, you always hang out with the cool people, man.
He's a cool guy. This guy, dude, you're in. Whatever. No, but he said because he goes and he hikes with gorillas in the mountains. He goes and walks with polar bears in Russia. He swims with like all the whales and sharks and everything. And I said, man, what created this like desire for you? Like what a cool life to live. And he said, at the end of our lives, we're not going to remember all of what built that life out. He said, what we'll remember are all the moments that were like exceptional moments. He told me about that book, and he goes, so I try to create as many extraordinary moments in my life that I can, because it stretches it out, makes my life feel more fulfilled and longer at the end of my life. I was like, man, that's pretty cool.
That's so true. And people mistake that. Like success isn't a place, it's a journey. You know what I mean? And maybe that place is, hopefully all of us can make it to that motherland we call heaven. You know, I think I've done some good things to get a start on that. But I think you have to realize is that, like he said, that stuff puts together moments, memories that you're going to remember forever. And that just makes you feel happy or makes you feel fulfilled for sure.
No, I think that's great, man. Well, you got a lot of people cheering for you. It's fun to watch you, have you here, dude. And we'll make some memories this summer after you guys are done playing.
We will. Thank you so much for having me on here.
All right, my friend. Good to see you, Jeff.